Okay, good afternoon, parents. Thank you for joining us here for this upper elementary camp information session. We're glad you can join us on this wet and wild day. So throughout this session, Wanda is going to join us from A-Team Adventures. She's done many camp experiences with us over the past 5 or 6 years, and we're very excited to see how this camp experience is going to run. So Wanda will run through a little presentation with you. If you have any questions throughout this presentation, please type them into the chat box on YouTube. We cannot reply through YouTube, but what we will do is answer all the questions at the end. So whenever anything pops up, please do type it into the chat box. This will be recorded as well, and later on today I'm going to be sending you an email regarding some other things to do with the camp registration. And the links will also be in there. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Wanda now, who's going to take us through this presentation.
Great. Good afternoon, parents. Some of you I've met before and others are new, so welcome to IMS camp. We're going to have a 1-week camp, but each one is going to be 3 days and 2 nights. So you either do the first camp on the 20th to the 22nd, and then the kids finish in the afternoon, or you do the second camp, which is in the 22nd, and you finish on the 24th. Now I'm going to take you through a PowerPoint. Some of it is just information and background information about our staff and their qualifications, as well as their training certs, and for all of their first aid and their water and their rock climbing, all of that, and a little bit of background about A-Team Adventures, who has been working with IMS for about 5 or 6 years as well. So I'm not going to go through all of the slides one by one, but I will leave the PowerPoint with the school and you can just kind of go through it. I am going to go through some of the activities, and I am certainly going to go through the schedule so that we are all on the same page, as well as the packing list. All right, so let's get started. Now, A-Team Adventures, we've got staff coming from all over the world, Canada, the US, New Zealand, Australia, and so it's quite a diverse group, very multicultural, and all of our staff are first aid trained and first aid certified, as well as wilderness first aid. And here are the slides, the next few, just the instructors that is going to be on this camp with your children, so you know who they are, and a little bit about their background, their qualifications, and such as well. So BB is our administrative coordinator who's going to be receiving all of the online registrations from you. So this camp is actually going to take place on Chun Chau. For parents who don't know, that's about 35 to about 50 minutes outside of Hong Kong Island. And so we're really going to, for these 3 days, really try to get the kids outside of their comfort zone, into the learning zone, and certainly not into the panic zone, because we believe in that learning zone is when they actually will engage in a lot of the natural activities where they learn best. So we're going to look a little bit at the curriculum link that they've been doing in the last few years in IMS as well. So we're going to be touching upon the Hong Kong history and heritage. We're going to do a little bit on the geography and looking at the rocks and the geology, the unique rock formations on Chun Chau. We're going to look at some of the myths and legends on Chun Chau and the Chinese myths. We're going to do living things in their habitats, as well as a bit of nature, art, and design on this camp. So Chun Chau, again, is about 35 minutes by fast ferry and 55 on slow ferry. Now, if you look at this island of Chun Chau, we're actually going to be on the beach. So it's actually on your right-hand side in that beach area. And the hostel is about 15 to 20 minutes walk from the beach. I'm going to take you through all of the little activities the kids are going to be doing. So they're going to be doing some kayaking, as well as some intertidal zone studies, looking at the sea creatures and the life there. So these are the 7 core activities we're going to be doing. The habitats, the heritage, the survival challenge, a bit of the kayak, and SUP stands for stand-up paddleboard, where they'll learn a bit about the paddle strokes, and they're going to actually learn to stand up and work in teams to get from A to B on this paddleboard. And some other activities which include barbecue and some night games as well. So they're going to be in the Nam Tam area when they do their intertidal zone studies. And they're going to be looking at some of the things in the sea. They've got a specimen box. They go and collect it, and then we're going to identify what these specimens are. We're going to do a little bit of a heritage and cultural tour, and they learn a little bit about the myths and legends of Southeast Asia as well as southern China. They're going to learn about the geological formations and the Tambolo and how that has formed. We're going to do a little bit of Hong Kong history on our tour, looking at what Hong Kong was like 100 years ago into modern day. So we've got some pictures of places that we're going to visit from old to modern times. They're going to do their kayaking and some survival challenge, which they will build a shelter on the beach and in the woodlands. And these are the SUPs. So I'm just going to show you some of the activities the children are actually going to be doing. And here's where they're going to be sleeping. They're going to be sleeping in dormitories, about 6 to 10 person per dorm. We're going to try to limit to 6 actually, to keeping with the 6 to 8, sorry, to limiting the per dorm, so that they can have a little more space. And each dorm is equipped with a bathroom, 2 bathrooms and 2 showers in each of the dorms. The eating area, the canteen, and they will be doing a barbecue as well at night. For each of the activities, the water activities, we're limiting it to instructor and student ratio 1 to 6. And for the land activities, such as the survival challenge, 1 to 12. And for all the water activities, they will be wearing a life jacket. Each child will be in a life jacket. In terms of emergency cases, there is a hospital right on Cheung Chau, which is about literally five minutes walk from the beach area where we'll be doing most of the activities. And then if for extreme cases, there is a helicopter pad right there to take the kids to St. Mary's Hospital. This is the packing list. So I'll leave that with the school as well. This PowerPoint is going to be left online so you can access it anytime. Parents can just kind of read through and tick, so they'll need a long sleeve shirt as well as a short sleeve shirt, plastic bags, all of this is on. And then they'll need water shoes. So water shoes can be these or any kind of old running shoes. It just has to be a pair of closed toe shoes where their toes are not exposed. This will protect them in the water in case they, kick a barnacle and, a piece of glass and all of that. So every child must wear that. O runners will be fine, or these canvas shoes are great. But we will not accept Crocs because they're very, very light. And as soon as they get into the water, they just float away. Or any kind of sandals like Tevas and such with their open toes, those are not acceptable as well. This is what the day schedule looks like. So no matter if you are on Camp 1 or Camp 2, we start the day meeting on day 1 at 8:30 in front of Pier 5 on the ferry to Cheung Chau, and we take the slow ferry over. And then I go through all the schedules with you. And on day 3, we take the 1:15 slow ferry back, and you can pick your child up at 2:15 p.m. on the central side in front of the Cheung Chau Pier as well. And for both camps, it's exactly the same. So our instructors will pick them up from the Cheung Chau side, from the central side to bring them over to Cheung Chau, and then on the last day from the Cheung Chau side back to central as well. All right, so if there's any questions, please send them through so that we can answer them.
So thank you for that, Wanda. The whole presentation will be available, and I'm going to send it out to you guys in an email later this afternoon. In that email I send out later, there's also the opportunity for you to choose which of the 2 camps you would like your child to attend. As Wanda said, I think it's the 20th to 22nd and 22nd to 24th of July. Ideally, your child would be able to attend either. If they can, please sign up and register that they can attend either date, just in case one camp doesn't run because of low numbers and so forth. And it would be great if we have the flexibility or if one camp has too many numbers and the other one doesn't have enough, we may need to shift people around. So if possible, it would be great if your child could attend either date, and then once everybody's had a chance to sign up, I will then confirm with parents which date your child is attending. After that, there's a form for the A-team's medical form that you need to complete, but you won't be able to fill that in until I've confirmed with you which date you are attending, so that Wanda and her team can cross-check that and then collect all that information. After that, Wanda's team may be in touch later on towards a week or two from the event to just go over any minor details and so forth. And then hopefully then they'll go into their camp experience and have a great time. So if you do have any questions now, please type them out, send them through into the chat box, and we'll start to work through them now. We want to answer as many questions as we can for you, so we can be as helpful as possible, and so that you can really get an understanding of how this experience is going to work. So one question's come in, it's about the dorm sleeping arrangements. Can we request who our child can bunk with? I guess for that part, it will all depend on which days they attend as well. Now, like I said to the parents who asked about lower elementary camp, we want to make this experience as enjoyable as possible for children. We do want to challenge them a little, but we also want to make sure they have some comfort, particularly for those that are new going on camp. So if you do have a request that your child attends a camp the same day, we're more than happy to have a look at that and try our best to accommodate it. We can't guarantee, it all depends on the numbers, but we'll try our best to make sure they attend the same camp. And obviously then if you want them to be in the same dorm, then we can try and sort that out. It's obviously gender specific dorms, so boys in one dorm and girls in the other. But if your child is able to attend with another friend or two, obviously we can't accommodate requests of groups of 10 or 12, but if it's just another friend or two that they'd like to be with and like to be in the same dorm with, we'll try our best to make sure that we accommodate that.
Yeah. And for parents who hasn't asked, because the primary parents have asked this, it's about masks. So if you could, each child would have to wear a mask on the ferry and on the return journey as well. So if you can pack a minimum of 3 masks, because for the activities that they'll be doing, a lot of it is water activity, and being in the salt water, we've kept the groups very, very small. They're about 6 students per instructor, and so we're trying to space them out a little bit as well, and they'll be in and out of the water. So in this sense they're going to be okay, but in the evening when they get back to the camps and things like that, we're also trying to divide the groups into very small groups, so they'll have little areas that they're going to be playing with and certain games and that as well. So that time we might actually ask the students to actually wear a mask. So if you could pack a minimum of 3 masks with each child, that would be fantastic. There'll also be eating in small groups as well. So we've actually asked the canteen to move some of the tables into the foyer, so that each group will have their own little eating area, so they're not packed into one canteen, each one of the tables, and all the food is going to be covered and all of that before that the children get there. As well as for lunch, one instructor will be eating with 6 of the children, and they'll be eating under the shade in certain areas. We're really, really trying to spread this camp out where they're not actually congregating in one large area. So even our packed lunches that we have ready for the kids, we're going to have different areas where the kids are going to line up and grab their packed lunches, and we'll be sitting in the shade in little smaller groups, rather than our traditional everybody gather up in one little area. So that's one. Also the dorms, we're really trying to keep it to a minimum of, a maximum of 8 people per dorm group, dorm rooms, so that we're within that social distancing number, and we'll also keep the instructors that way. And if we can help it, because as you can see, most of the activities are water activities anyway, so it is a 1-to-6 ratio. But even for the land activities, we're trying to cut it down so that it'd be 1-to-8 maximum, so that in this sense, we're still going to keep the numbers as small for those groups as well.
And Wanda, before they eat, there'll be hand sanitizing, is that right?
So each instructor is going to be carrying a hand sanitizer pack, which involves not only the sanitary wet naps, but also the hand sanitizers. And in the areas that we're going to go to, they will have a chance to wash their hands in soap and so forth as well. And we've spoken to the hostel as well, so they're going to have places set up. And right now, because the hostels have actually opened and with the government's new policy, they've set up more places for the children and people using the hostel to wash their hands. So there's sink areas everywhere, and we'll make sure that it's well stocked with soap as well, and that when each child is eating within the area in their group, that their instructor gets them to sanitize their hands before they eat. Yeah.
And I'll just ask a question I know might come up later, is what if my child has special dietary requirements?
Yeah. So we can cater for that. So on the medical form, there's a section that says, is your child allergic to anything? Is there any kind of special dietary requirements that we have to cater for? A lot of the schools that we work with from, religious reasons or for allergenic reasons, we can definitely cater for that. That's not a problem. Gluten-free, vegetarian, no pork, kosher, all of that. And as long as it's written on the form, we can prepare and have that ready, including halal meat and all of that. We can definitely order. There are 2 restaurants on the island that serve that. So as long as we pre-order, we can pick up those meals for your child. Yeah.
And then I think also we've had in the past where some students have even brought their own food.
Yeah.
So if when Wanda shares the camp menu with you, if you really think that your child's dietary restrictions are not going to be catered for, they can always take the food along, and they've kept in refrigerators and so forth there. Obviously, if it's just I don't think my child will like that, it's a little different story. I mean, they can try new things, they can try the different foods that'll be there. It is camp after all, they've got to try new experiences, but if they do have specific dietary requirements and it's not going to be able to be catered by the food being offered, then they are able to assist and look after children's food and bring it out for meal times.
Yep.
I think I can probably help with this next question. So asking about if the classes are assigned to specific days. Now, originally in the camp experience that we were planning back in April, you're right, we would have had camps on specific days and classes would have attended in certain days as the usual schedule follows. But because of the nature of this new experience, we thought camp was going to have to be cancelled. We were lucky, 18, we managed to work with them to offer this new experience over the summer. There are no teachers going. It is all run by 18. We've worked with them for 5 to 6 years, and we're very confident and comfortable with the safety procedures they put in place and the experiences they offer our children. And we're also very comfortable with the arrangements they've made with regard to the new changes and so forth. That's okay. We want to be flexible because we don't know, which days would work for parents over the summer. So, you can choose one of the 2 days. Again, like I said at the beginning, hopefully you can choose both days, and then we can try and sort of work it out as best fit for everybody, where we split the numbers evenly across both days. Obviously, if the uptake is low, then we may just focus on one particular day. So. Like I said at the beginning, we can have, we're open to taking requests. If you have a friend or two that you'd really like to go on the same day, and that works for their families as well, then please send those requests through, and I'll do my very best to make sure you end up on the same days with those people and those friends.
Just to let you know that I will share the menu with you 1 month before camp, because the camp menu is only set, not by us, but by the camp itself. And certainly we'll request certain things like more veggies, we will add some protein, but the actual menu will only come up about 30 days before camp. And as soon as I get that menu, I will share that with Bill, and then we can post that online and parents can have a look at what we're serving. And that's when you can make the decision whether or not you want to bring some extra food to camp as well.
So please, if you have any other questions, send them through. I'll just ask another question that came up earlier as well with regards to, bad weather and, what will happen to camp if it's like this, like it is today. What would be the plan?
So we've got wet weather contingency, and we've booked the entire camp, and the entire camp can actually fit about 150 students. So for IMS, we've got about 80 students going at each one of the camps. So you can see there's plenty of room. They've got an indoor rock climbing wall. They've got an indoor basketball court. They've got 2 activity rooms at this camp. So if it's a wet day like this, and if it's a little bit of rain, then certainly we will be taking the kids up because it's wet activities anyways. But if it's thunderstorming or if there's lightning, then we stay inside the camp, and certainly we can fit the students inside the dry area, from the rock climbing bits to the basketball court to the 2 activity centers that they have. So that's not going to be an issue, but do prepare for wet weather. So, have a light rain jacket or a windbreaker for them. If it's just a little drizzly and a little gray, we would like to take the kids out into the nature walks and things like that as well. If it's very, very windy and we cannot use the beach or the water activities, they turn into land activities. And there's plenty of woodland in that area. And there's, we can still do the intertidal zone studies where they get to about, above ankle, below knee deep in water to look for some of the sea creatures and things like that. So those activities can still be done. So, we will manage it as we go, but certainly there's plenty of indoor spaces in camp if we need to have the kids stay in camp that day.
No other questions coming through, but I'll ask one more, which I know is a common one. What if my child is not good or hasn't got much experience at swimming?
Right. So for all water activities, the kids are in life jackets and PFDs. We are actually also going to do a small swim test with them because some of the kids came up through, primary 1, 2, and 3 in IMS, and we've been doing a water safety program with IMS since the very beginning. But if they're new to the school, then they will be actually taught some very basic rules in open water. But we also have a line of staff actually for the free swim activity where they will be acting as a border where the kids can go from the beach to where the adults are, and the adults are about probably armpit deep in water, and the kids can go only as far as that. And we would never force a child to do anything. We hope that they will take up some of the challenges and things like that. And even with the SUP, they don't go into the ocean very far. They're actually within the vicinities of the beach. And when they're learning, we've got the instructor holding on to the SUP and for the kids to get on so that they can understand, the balance and all of that. So it's all very, step-by-step procedural in all of the activities.
Yeah. I can account for that. I'm often on the water activities when we go to camp and helping out. And like Wanda showed at the very beginning about that, getting into that learning zone, getting children out of their comfort zone. We're obviously not going to put them in danger. We have a mix of children who can swim like fish to those that are very brand new and it's their first experience. So I know that they'll tailor the experience depending on every child's level, but trying to get them all out of that comfort zone and helping them to progress and develop in their water confidence and abilities, which is great. So I'm sure they'll have a good time there. There's no other questions that have come up. I don't know if you can think of anything, Wanda, anything else we need to share, or if we can perhaps maybe we can wrap it up there if there's nothing else that's coming up. That's
fine, yeah. Parents, if there are any questions, that you can think of later on, just send Bill an email or myself. If Bill can't answer it, he'll, send it to me and I'll probably answer that. So, we're happy to take any of the questions you do have. Do go through the packing list carefully, because they do need their water shoes, all of their suntan, lotion, all of the their hats and water bottle and all of that, and that will be needed. And if, depending on the number of students, we're going to try to, again, limit the rooms. And if we get a lower number than, let's say, 80 per camp, then chances are they're probably going to be in rooms of 3 or 4, and so that they'll have even more space. Yeah.
One last question that has come through and says, do any homesick kids ever leave to go home? And we've had homesickness.
Yeah.
It's common. It's gonna come up.
Yeah.
You know, there's a few kids that get there and they're fine, and then there's a few that often they have a bit of a funny turn. Sometimes before bedtime is normally the one. You know, but obviously we don't want them to miss out on this experience, because if they end up going home, particularly without having spent one night there, then this is always going to be a challenge for them. So it's about getting them out of that comfort zone into that learning zone, and then nighttime is a big part of that. And that's again why we will try and help and support children with letting them sort of, or trying to get them with some other familiar friends in their rooms, so that they can learn to cope and survive with one another. If they're obviously really bad, you know, and they're really struggling, then one thing we might do is let them have a call home to mum or dad. But we really try our best to get them through day one. Once they've slept the night day one, day two, they don't want to go home anyway. Yeah. They're normally having too much fun. So, you know, if you can be as encouraging as possible as well, telling them about, you know, the experience they're going to have and how good it's going to be. And then when they come home eventually, after going through these challenges, you know, they're really proud of themselves. They've achieved a lot, and then the following camps become easier and easier. And then when they go to secondary and they're going on, you know, 5-day camps to Thailand and various other places, they've had that layer, they've had that build up and that stepping stone, which is so important to them for their independence as well. So we can help really work through that sort of homesickness with them. There is a couple of other questions that have come up. Are there enough mosquito repellent devices inside the camp?
Yeah, so the camp during the summer is going to be, the rooms are air conditioned. All the rooms are air conditioned, including the indoor activity areas. So, you know, that's their windows are going to be closed. But depending if it's wet like this, certainly there are going to be mosquitoes. So we do want you for the kids to bring bug spray and a pair of long pants to protect them. And we do have mosquito coils for some of the night activities. But if we find that the mosquito is really bad, the night activities can be done indoors, so in the basketball court and all the activity centers. But in the rooms, generally, if they keep the doors closed and the windows in the summer, in an air-conditioned room, there aren't that many. I mean, you know, 1 or 2 in the rooms is going to be certain. But yeah, there aren't that many mosquitoes in a closed environment.
And again, I've stayed at this camp a few times with these camp experiences, and we've had very little experience of that. Often there's some children though that do try and have a snack at night, and they, again, after we've advised them not to eat in their rooms or leave their doors open, and then you walk past their dorm and they're eating and they're leaving their dorms open. They're wondering why ants and other things are starting to come into their rooms. So it can be a short learning curve, but the children do learn faster with that if they aren't making appropriate decisions. There's one parent has asked also if you could just do a quick run through the activities again, as you may have missed the first part of it.
Sure. So the kids are going to be divided into 4 groups for each one of the camps, and then into further subgroups. All right, and they're going to do all the activities. Now, there's going to be one group, parents, it's the challenger group, and this is usually the older kids because they've actually already gone through 2 overnight experiences, and this is their 3rd. So, you know, Bill and I have worked it out so that they're doing something quite new. For example, this year they're going to take up raft building, and Bill knows the kids pretty well, and he'll be dividing them into each of the groups, and our instructors will have some assessment as well. But if you look at the day 1 and the day 2 parts, you know, each one of the groups, group 1, group 2, group 3, and then the challenger, which is the group 4, they go through a different activity each day, and then they just rotate through. So we're looking at some of the nature art activity in the intertidal zone. So that would mean that they'll be having an ID sheet, a specimen box, some fish nets, and they're going to get to about knee deep in water to look for some of the sea animals and creatures, and we're learning to identify them, and we're looking at evolution and and how these creatures have evolved to adapt to living in such a harsh environment. And so that's one of the activities, or 2 of the activities, because it's the 2 groups swapping. And then the other one is the SUP, which is the stand-up paddleboard, and then the beach activities. So they're going to be doing some team activities on the beach, and then they're going to be on the stand-up paddleboard, which is in the ocean. The other one is actually a swim safety, which is an upgraded level from their primary. And then the co-steering, which is actually quite a unique activity. I'm going to show parents this because it's quite interesting. It's, let's see. Oh, sorry, ew. It's actually them wearing life jackets and going around the ocean. I don't know if I have it on this page. No, maybe not.
It's a fun activity.
Yeah, and where they kind of learn about the life along the ocean, and they've got their life jacket on. They jump off little rocks. They do a little swim, and we look at all of the sort of interesting sea anemones and even the barnacles that grow on the rocks, and why they do it and all of that. So it's a very educational process while they are having a good time. And then the other activity would involve the cultural tour, where they actually do a short tour to look at some of the old buildings, and we have old pictures of Chernchow and then the current what they look like, and they do a comparison. They also sample a bit of the local snacks, and we do a scavenger hunt with the Challenger group. So those are the 2, 4, 6, 8 main activities, and the kids rotate through that. In the evening, one night, they're going to have a little night walk, which they have their head torches and things like that, and we take them out into just a very small wooded area where they actually look for some of the nocturnal insects and creatures. One year we managed to see a fish owl. We have a bat detector, so we will try to the instructors will detect some of the sounds, and the kids will identify them as well. And certainly we'll see lots of crickets and frogs and things like that. And then they'll have a night game where they're actually indoor in the activity center or in the indoor gym, and then we do some night activities with the children. And bedtime is 9 o'clock. So about 8:30, we let them go back into their rooms, and they kind of settle down, they brush their teeth, and they prepare for bed, and at 9 o'clock, it's lights out. Hopefully that answers your question of all the activities. If you have any other questions about that, then if you want a description, I can definitely give you that as well. Just send us an email.
So I think that's all of the questions answered. If you do have any more questions between now and the next few weeks, please send them through to me. I'll try my best to answer them, and if I can't, I'll pass them over to Wanda. And then we'll get the presentation sent out to you today, like I said before, and the form for you to register. So the first part will be for you to choose which day you can go. Hopefully you can choose both, so it's a little bit easier and a bit more flexible. And then I will confirm with you next Monday, I believe it is, which day your child is attending. And then there's another link in that email regarding A-Team's medical form. You'll be able to fill that in, and you need to state the date that I've told you that you'll be attending. And then after that, I'll hand it over to Wanda's team, who'll be in touch a little bit more with regards to any other further details around the camp. One final question that did come in is, are the kids allowed to bring phones with them? Yeah. Now, this one is one that I think where we probably follow the same school policy of no phones and no technology. And the reason is that if it gets lost or damaged, it's going to be very upsetting for the children, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. So what we tend to do is Wanda will have a phone list for every parent that's got a child attending camp. And then if needs be, she can set up that phone call for your child to contact you if there is any need for that. And also you will have Wanda's team's phone numbers as well in case you need to contact them about anything. But please, I strongly advise you don't send any technology with children. This is like a tech-free zone camp. We just want them to go there and just experience the nature in the outside and just live that rather than worrying about playing games and music and things on their phones. So that would be my strong suggestion. I'm sure you would agree with that as well. Yeah. So this session is recorded. Jackie, our IT man, is going to edit it because there are bits of this that won't be needed for later. So he will trim off any waiting time. So if you are going to watch it again and so forth, maybe wait an hour or two so he has time to trim the video down and cut out any of the excess waiting time. But thank you very much for joining us today. And we look forward to some fun camp experiences coming up. Have a great day.